Like, I just can't imagine living in Germany and being like,
KOA,
Utah, okay,
okay.
this city, that name sounds like a sexually transmitted disease. I want to go there. Vernal.
My cousin had Vernal once. It's fucked up, man.
Probably because he banged her.
Welcome to the Rewatchers on the Pod, where in your time it has been like 5 weeks, but in our condensed version of time, or elongated. Gwen, you're the book person.
Why does this? Why
They talk
does
about
this fall
time in
under
books, right?
Tyler's
How
our
many
science
books-
man.
They talk about this
How
in the
many book
Hyperion
years is
books,
that?
right? Yeah.
I'll tell you how many light years it is.
Are we going historical fiction, science fiction, experimental?
Oh,
House of
see, this is
Leadership?
why I never open a book. I don't want more questions. Anyways, it's been a while. We're back. We finally watched Fargo. You're here with me, Tyler Harris, and
Gwen Hammer.
Tyler McKinley.
Justin Hammer.
luckily, this movie doesn't have anything to do with time fuckery. So, I'm going to tell
there were
you.
a lot of weird fade outs.
There are a lot of weird fade outs.
Was that just a 90s thing?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, if you have not watched Fargo, I'm about to tell you everything that happened in Fargo. I'm going to try to do it the way Tyler intended it to be done. I tried 6 accents last night at a thing, and it was bad. So, here we go.
I'm just waiting for it to inevitably turn into a New Yorker.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to settle in, yeah. Be like, them crazy Midwesterners. All right. Oh, God. I can't even, I haven't even, I'm trying to think of like a phrase like into it.
Oh, hi, Dad.
See, but oh hi gets me into the room guy. What's his name?
Oh, I almost said Joey
Mark.
Fatone.
Yeah, Joey
Tommy.
Fatone. Yeah, Tommy Wiseau. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, you betcha.
Yeah. That's some pretty shoddy
Darn
detective work there, pal.
Yeah.
All right, here we
It's
go.
already coming out.
Can't do it. A totally true statement at the beginning of this flick, yeah? Jerry and those rough fellas have a mix-up on planning the kidnapping of his old lady. I'm going into it already. Okay. Wade thinks a lot is a lot. Pancakes and sex are what fuel the criminal underworld. These just feel like, as I'm reading in this accent, it just feels like Cards Against Humanity cards. Wade and Stan think the lot numbers look pretty sweet. Oh, geez, sounds like Jerry's running an automobile racket. I can't read it fast either. I realize I'm supposed to go. I'm
You
going to
just
go
read it
fast.
normal.
The fellas went to kidnap Jerry's wife, but find a suicidal shower ghost instead. Jerry, don't you know what bangs look like, yeah? Those darn tags, always ruining a good kidnapping. The fellas decide the cop isn't being open-minded enough about the situation. Norm and Marge, power couple. Lou sure does all the heavy lifting at crime scenes. Wade likes his gosh darn money over his daughter. There it is. Steve Buscemi is more funny looking than the average fella. It's just mean. Shit. Okay. Marge gets Chef to spill his tootin' beans on Jerry's car deal. Marge and Lonely Mike share a classy meal. Carl gets flashbacks when he got caught by his dad while banging his cousin. Wade makes a deal. Carl gets a close shave, and I don't mean with a Gillette, don't you know? Mike is a darn tootin' liar. Carl stashes the cash. The little fella gets axed by the big fella. Marge catches the big fella red-handed. Jerry gets his ass got, you betcha. Norm gets his duck on the 3-cent stamp. What the hell? Prince was in this movie? I'm exhausted.
A valiant effort.
Jeez. I'm so bad. Okay. Let's talk about this movie.
Fucking Hollywood elites shitting on Midwestern couples just living their lives and painting ducks.
I think that they're painted as a pretty admirable.
Are they?
I think
Whenever
so.
I see a couple like just watching TV together, I always feel like it's looking down on them. So maybe that speaks to me more than it does the movie.
Yeah. I was gonna say I took it as like a wholesome thing.
Yeah, that's why I always feel good when I see them. They're living the dream, you know.
I'm not cut out to watch these movies, guys.
Yeah, this movie is wild. Justin, had you seen this?
No, I had not.
Okay, you had not,
Nope.
and Gwen, you had not.
Obviously not.
Right, Tyler, you have seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I guess Justin, Gwen, what are kind of your just initial thoughts on what you experienced? I do think we need to address the way that these movies make you feel.
Yeah,
for
just
sure.
as discussed, I just feel like staring into the void now. Always.
Why?
Don't ask me questions. I go to books for questions, not husbands.
Yeah, that's right, Justin. This is a podcast. No questions. Save that for them fucking writers.
I don't know, man. I spent my whole day doing laundry and just moving items around the house, and then I'd watch a movie, and they end, and they're watching TV in bed, and that's the end. So now I gotta stare into the void.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Justin.
So I'm always like a big sucker for like meta stuff, and the Coen brothers do that a lot. And so like it's fun to go back and see one of their older movies. I'm not super familiar with like their entire line of work, so I don't know where this falls in like how early in their career this was. I'm assuming fairly early, since this was almost 30 years ago now, right?
Yeah. Is this 94 or 96?
Yeah, I think it was 96. So like just going back and seeing kind of like little pieces of that from an earlier film of theirs was a lot of fun. Like there's I can't remember anybody's names from this movie, but the conversation that the detective is having with her husband, and she said, or no, maybe it happens twice. Now I'm getting my details mixed up, but there's a comment somewhere about like how she just doesn't get it. And like that I feel like is a theme through a lot of the Coen brothers stuff that I have seen. Like there's just this idea where they like to just sit in a space that doesn't make sense, and like kind of like what Gwen is describing. I think this just like go and stare into the void. Like I'm not doing a really good job of explaining what I'm thinking here, but like they get into this, like they're really good at getting into this awkward space and like uncomfortable space with humanity and relationships and stuff. And yeah, it's, to me, I really like it. It's a good time. So Fargo is one of those movies after seeing it one time where it's just kind of like you come away and think like, what did I just watch? Like, what is the point of this? And they started off with the whole, like, this is based on true events, too. And so it's like this little microcosm, this thing that happened. And, like, what was the point? Who cares? Why are we seeing this? But, like, it's also fantastic, too.
Have you seen Burn After Reading?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Or that's like the last line in the whole.
Yeah.
What was the fucking point of all?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
By the way, I didn't say I didn't like it, just that I need to stare into the void. I did like it.
Right, yeah.
Burn After Reading is like, I feel like that's like that epitomizes like what I'm trying to get at as far as like the emotions that the Coen brothers kind of evoke with their films. I feel like that's kind of like a peak meta sort of Coen brothers thing. So yeah, that's a good example.
I mean, I haven't really spent any time like looking up any like interviews or anything with the Coen brothers. I don't think I've ever actually heard them talk too much, to be honest. So I don't know like if any of these things are confirmed, but I know that there's a couple films that have like a lot of like they're like way more deep than the surface level would suggest, and they're like have a lot of subtext. Big Lebowski being surprisingly one of them, where there's a pretty popular fan theory about the whole thing online that I would have never ever gotten. Like I felt stupid, but at the same time, like who the fuck? Like,
Are you talking about which one are you talking
I don't
about?
want to spoil it for
okay.
them because they haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
We're gonna watch it next, but like, yeah, there's one about the Big Lebowski about like how all the characters represent something different. Yeah. Yeah, and I would have never.
Which is funny because there's even multiple interpretations on that theory. Like, it's ridiculous.
And then it makes me wonder about other Coen Brothers movies because they kind of have that feeling. I'm like, oh, well, what am I missing? Like, is there like even though I enjoyed what's there and I love picking it apart and looking at it and dissecting it as a film, there's a lot of the writing that I feel like goes way over my head, and that's what I kind of love about their movies is it's like they can be enjoyed on so many levels. But yeah, so I don't know if there is one with Fargo or not. I haven't looked into it at all. Just because I enjoyed the movie as it is so much, I didn't feel the need to dig anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Tyler, have you come across anything like that?
I don't think there's anything like on the level of like the Big Lebowski stuff they were talking about. But I do want to mention, you mentioned the based on a true story thing, which is completely false. Like that is,
that doesn't surprise me at all. Now that you say that,
it's part of a thing where they were like, you can literally put based on a true story on anything,
right?
Because like any story could be based on anything essentially, and it's interesting because we kind of mentioned a movie before we started talking about, but I kind of want to address it now in relation to this. Is there's a movie called Kumiko Treasure Hunter that is based on a true story about a Japanese woman who saw this movie, saw that it was based on a true story, and in this movie a bunch of money is buried somewhere. So she then decided she was going to go and find that money, and that story has a really tragic ending, which like further just like maybe reinforces the point that the Coen brothers were making while also implicating them in like the thing that they were criticizing, which is, I mean, that's obviously not planned, hopefully. I mean, unless they're like fucking just insane sociopaths.
Maybe they're God.
Well, and I think so. Like, I mean, I know that is one of those things with this movie in particular is that idea of like, if something says based on a true story, how does that affect how you view it, how you think about it? What are the things that stick with you that wouldn't if that tag wasn't there? So I think there's a lot of interesting stuff kind of along those lines. But yeah, it's like I think that the other thing, and we've kind of mentioned Burn After Reading and stuff, I think that one of the things that I know some people have criticized the Coen brothers for, and I think Tarantino gets this same criticism, but the fact that some people feel like the Coen brothers hate everyone in their movies, that they are there to basically play God and punish characters in their movies, which I want to know how you guys feel about that. That's something that in watching their movies, I've never, I guess, felt that. I do feel in a lot of their movies their characters are possibly their fates are lying at the whim of, in some cases, literally God himself or some larger power. But I've always felt like that is justified and works for me. But I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Have you guys felt that watching?
That's really interesting because like I haven't seen a lot of the Coen brothers movies, but I feel like I'm familiar enough with many of them where I don't really feel that way. Like my mind is going to like something like "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" that's literally based on the Odyssey, and like, I don't know, like that feels like a complete contradiction to that idea because it's not their story, but it is, but it's not. So yeah, I don't know. But on the other hand, I did think like Gwen asked me before the movie started, is this violent? And I said, I don't think it's that violent.
At least we won't see an axe to the face like we did in
right.
Burn After
Yeah,
Reading.
that was the thing. Like I didn't think it was going to be that. And then it's literally like almost the exact same setup, like the exact same shot of the axe just going to that guy's head. So
Yeah.
Spoilers for Burn After Reading, but there's an axe to a guy's head in that movie too. So yeah, maybe they hate some of their characters. I don't know.
Maybe they love axes. I don't know.
They hate the weird ones. I don't know.
I think I don't know. I definitely do feel that way. That they, not necessarily that they hate their characters, but they definitely punish the shit out of them. And I feel like, to me, the read I get is more a couple different takes of them kind of projecting their own feelings about life onto the characters, and how life is shitty and how oppressive it is, no matter how hard you try sometimes. But then it gets weird because then you have characters like Margie, who is a wonderful person, and everything, despite the fact that she's dealing with other people's shit, and that would be mentally kind of hard, everything kind of falls into her lap in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't have to try that hard, really. She's just goes into it with a positive attitude, and it kind of works out for her, and she solves the case, like, type of thing. I don't know. So there are characters where it doesn't, and so you could look at the read too of like, well, the only people who have bad things happen to them are the people doing it to themselves, kind of. Like, I feel like that you could say, I'm trying to think of a Coen Brothers movie where that doesn't apply, and I can't think of one, to be honest. Like, every single character who has bad things happen to them, in some level at least, gets themselves into those situations or is kind of self-destructive in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to say it feels like grimdark in the way where it's violent and gratuitously violent and people are terrible, but it feels like there's a point to it and we're exploring themes and etc. But I mean, in that regard, it doesn't line up with grimdark at all, because innocent people get it all the time in that subgenre. So, but I mean, it does feel like there's a purpose and an exploration in the violence rather than just, I feel like being violent.
Sure. Well, and I think too, like, with that idea of violence, like the way that every Coen Brothers character talks, like, it all feels kind of like a fable. Like, it is this like weirdly heightened reality that like occasionally crashes back down into the stark reality, and then is like the next scene kind of elevated back into this, other world again. And so it is really like interesting. And I mean, worth noting, this movie won 2 Oscars, was nominated for a bunch, was nominated for Best Picture, but did not win. But it won for writing and Best Actress. Frances McDormand won, which, I mean...
Add it to the list.
Yeah.
Her performances.
Yeah. I mean, I do think Marge is one of my favorite Coen Brothers characters, because... She's first of all, she's just an incredibly capable person. She's good at her job. She's better than most of the other people doing her same job. Like, probably one of my favorite scenes is that initial investigation with her and the guy, and like him like with the DL, and like it's like this, and anyways, just like stuff like that I think is really great. But yeah, I think so much of the writing in this movie is what makes this movie feel the way it does. And there are plenty of examples of the Coen Brothers writing scripts that other people direct, and they always feel wrong. Like, it just doesn't feel right. And I think that especially now, like it's pretty crazy to have writers whose voices are so loud that if they're not treated the right way visually, it just feels completely wrong. And so I think that's like a really like interesting thing about this movie for sure too.
What are some examples of that?
I was just going to look that up. So they wrote Unbroken, which is the adapted. It's the story of it's the World War II. He was in a prison camp. Yes,
the guy on the rowing team.
Yeah, and that movie's fine.
That's right. Yeah.
Angelina Jolie directed it, and I think she's again, these are capable directors, I think. But there's just something about the dialogue in that movie and the way it's shot by other directors that doesn't work. There's one, is it Suburbia? Suburbicon, thank you, yes.
Did they write that?
They wrote that, and George Clooney directed it.
And I heard it was terrible.
And it's really bad. I mean, the reason it's so bad is because...
Clooney's trying to do a Coen Brothers impression.
Yeah, you know how it should feel, and he's trying to get that, and it just doesn't quite get there. And I think the interesting thing too about a lot of the Coen Brothers stuff, there's a really great Every Frame a Painting video that is about the Coen Brothers, and it's literally just about how the Coen Brothers use shot reverse shot, like that, just how they film conversations. And that it's like such a small thing, and you'd think it would be such an easy thing to mimic, but people have tried, and it just doesn't feel quite the same. And so I'm gonna see if I can find some other examples, but those are the two that come to mind immediately, are two recent examples, Unbroken and Suburbicon.
While you look that up, speaking of shots, that shot in the kitchen looking at the table where they're both sitting eating breakfast, and then down the stairs and out the door, that was incredible.
Yeah.
What is it about that I loved so much? I wanted to stay there forever.
Yeah. That's worth noting too. We're going to be, for the next 4 weeks, I'd imagine. I'm trying to think if there's an exception of the ones we've talked about, but Roger Deakins as cinematographer, who, we talked about with Blade Runner 2049. I'm trying to remember if we watched any other.
In my opinion, he is God.
Yeah. We get the God's eye view in every Coen Brothers movie. But yeah, there's several shots like that I think about. I mean, even just the shot, there's like that overhead shot of the parking lot that is like so like satisfyingly symmetrical and like also off-putting. Like, it's just
I think about that snow shot all the time. It's not a difficult shot necessarily, but there are no other tracks of other takes.
That's I was thinking that.
And so it's like you really do have one shot. So if you like, most directors want at least like, I imagine like at least 5 takes for something like that. But like, yeah, I mean, that's once again not like the most impressive thing ever, but it's just, cool that they do stuff like that and are willing to just like, because you could easily just put a ton of tire tracks in that snow, but they really wanted that trail to be there, and this was before heavy use of CGI and everything, so you can just fake that.
Sure. So I just found a couple other. So they actually wrote Bridge of Spies, which is a weird one because Bridge of Spies feels like a Spielberg movie still. But yeah, I don't know. Anyways. The Naked Man? You guys know The Naked Man?
I have no idea what that is.
I have no idea what it is.
Nope.
But they wrote it. Anyways, back to this. But yeah, I think visually, I think another thing, and we kind of talked about this, and I do want to get Gwen's thoughts on this because we kind of talked about this briefly before. But this is a movie that like is, I think, especially for when it came out, like set in a place that you didn't see a lot of movies, and maybe highlighted people that you don't normally see highlighted on screen.
Well, I mean, and your main protagonist is a pregnant woman,
right?
Like,
yeah,
which is not common for even now.
Yeah. And like, I think that for me, I think there is like, there's a little bit of this kind of like cartoonishness to it, but I also feel like there's like kind of a, I don't know if it's a longing or a love for that life, or for those people, like for the lives that they lead, which I think is interesting. But yeah, I don't know, Gwen, I don't know if you wanted to talk about kind of how you felt about it, or because I do think it's worth exploring, like that side of it as well.
I think cartoonish is a good way of putting it. I think I'm probably just like oversensitive to that sort of thing. Like, let's not make fun of people just living their lives, okay?
Sure.
I mean, this film wasn't really doing that, despite what I said. But yeah, I guess I'm oversensitive to it. But like this, I wanted to go. I can't even. Was it in Minnesota? Like, I wanted to go to this weird little area and drive around.
Yeah.
That's what this movie did to me, I guess.
Yeah. I think I think too, it's like there are plenty of scenes that you could pull out of this movie out of context, and like you'd be like, Marge is a fucking weird ass character. Like, there's just shots of her like smiling that you're like, oh, she's an insane person, or this person is stupid, or you know what I mean? Like, there are easily things that you can pull out of that. But I think the thing that I like about this movie and that it does well is that if you watch this entire movie, I don't think you feel that way about her at all. I think there are times when she's actually very smart, and I think she is putting on that little Midwestern charm, like laying it on a little thick on purpose, which I think is really great.
And she knows exactly what she's doing. Like, she's done this before.
Right.
She's not trying out this method.
Yeah,
you get the sense that police department is fucking screwed when she leaves.
yeah, for sure.
DLR. Although I didn't put that together, so maybe I shouldn't join the police.
But
hey, with like 6 weeks of training, you can be.
True.
Man, yeah. I think that's where the driving to, right? We have a real complicated relationship at this point with the police. So yeah, that's always fun. It's always fun to go back to a time when
The police were the good guys.
when we thought there were less problems, at least. Yeah. I don't know. That's the thing is, like, the more I think about it, I'm like, how far back do you have to go for the police to be the good guys? Because think far enough back and there's just more shit. So anyways, yeah. Marge is one of the good ones.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
I'm not gonna do this. I hate this.
Well, I mean, like, we don't have to get too far into it, but I think that it is interesting, especially in like a Coen Brothers movie that usually is a little bit more pessimistic, that we are cheering for the cops. You know? That is a. I mean, I personally don't have any problem with that in film, as long as like it's not a propaganda piece to try and make you feel one way or the other. Yeah. I think it's fine. Like in Twin Peaks, we're rooting for the FBI, even though the FBI has done some significant fucked up shit.
In Police Academy, we're also rooting for the cops, but
are we?
They're accurately presented as complete morons, so it's interesting.
I mean, Reno 911 is along that same line. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's great because we see how we want it to work. I guess, like because we know that there are bad people out there doing horrible shit that need to be caught and dealt with, whatever that means, and we're led to believe, the police are the ones supposed to be doing it. So it's nice to live in that fantasy for a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Especially when there's like just wholesome as Marge,
yeah,
like,
for sure.
I don't know. Maybe my life is just so sad that I get joy out of that. But
I thought it was hilarious that she poured out the coffee that her partner person so painstakingly brought to the scene.
He's been holding on to like forever.
Yeah. That's so good.
It's probably cold by then.
Oh, man.
Can you imagine how fucking cold that place is?
I know.
Her boots, man, those were some serious boots.
Yeah.
I don't understand. These early settlers who are like, I think I want to stop here forever.
Do you think
you
they
stop there
wanted
during the summer and it's beautiful and you're like, this is a great place, and then you're stuck when it starts snowing.
Oh fuck! There's no way next winter could be this bad.
Let's talk about some of the other characters, because I think as much as we've talked about Marge, there's some other characters that are just as memorable. Let's talk about Jerry Lundegaard.
Lundegaard?
Yeah, something like that.
Is this William H. Macy's character,
William H.
the
Macy,
dad of the family? Okay.
Who, goddamn, and William H. Macy is another one of those like character actors that I feel like whenever I see him, I just fucking love.
Yeah,
that
did
guy.
you see him in Cellular?
Oh man, I have seen Cellular so many times. Here's the thing. When Blockbuster was still around, we used to always get, like, if we went to the movie and liked it, like, you wait like 4 weeks and then it's like you get the previewed like DVD for like $6. And Cellular was one of those movies that was just at my house, and it'd be Sunday afternoon. We're like, let's watch Cellular. This Chris Evans guy, there's something about him. And his silly friend.
Chris Evans and Nokia phones.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, that movie's insane. But yeah, I mean, William H. Macy's other wonderful roles in Mystery Men as the shoveler.
Jurassic Park: The Lost World
Oh, no.
as the dad.
Wait, is he in Lost World?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay.
Is
he also in
his
3?
daughter's the one that was like vacationing there?
That's right. Yes.
And like him and his
Yes.
wife, his ex-wife go search
Yeah.
for him.
Oh, man. The Jurassic Park sequels. Woof.
I'm going to say that for all of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't give a shit how much money that other one made.
I'm including Jurassic World for sure. Anyways, wonderful in this movie. Again, another one of those characters who is like very cartoonish, but feels like an incredibly real person. And like I think pulls off some of the like my favorite just person experiencing extreme anxiety acting that I've seen in a lot of movies.
His performance is great. I love his character because he's an absolute piece of shit. But there are moments in this film where I find myself like empathizing in moments. Like, I'm like, oh shit, like I don't feel I feel uncomfortable being myself in those moments. Like, not that I've done anything remotely close to what he's doing, but just like the disapproving of his father-in-law and like the pressure he's under at work, and like that whole line of his father-in-law being like, they don't have to worry. Like,
Yeah.
for some reason that like spikes my anxiety up super high, even though I should want this guy to fail.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. And I think that's something also that I don't know if we want to talk about now, but that Fargo, the TV show, does really well in that first season.
Yeah.
Of, I can't remember his name.
Martin Freeman. Martin Freeman?
Yeah, it's Martin Freeman, but I don't remember his character's name.
Oh, I don't remember.
Same thing with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that opening episode, I can empathize very heavily with what he's going through. And, well, yeah, once again, not that I have had a similar experience, but like just how human experience is conveyed, I find myself being like, dude, I feel so sorry for you. And, what you're, and then things progress very quickly from there, and you're like, oh, this guy sucks ass. But like the show, and that's what I feel like. I still haven't watched the other seasons. I feel like that first season's so damn good, and it captures everything this show does really well, I feel like.
Yeah.
And that was hard. That's hard to believe that they were able to pull out, because usually stuff like that doesn't work. Usually when they transition to a television series based on a movie, it doesn't feel the same. Yeah. And it does feel different, but it captures what makes it special. And I think that's one of the things is the shitbag. The main shitbag in it is like somehow you can empathize with them, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and I think to have a show that like justifies its own existence, but also justifies why it needs to be called Fargo, rather than just like a Midwest crime story or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think you're totally right. Anyways, it's great. Well, and I think too, like, you know, talking about kind of along those lines too of how you feel about Jerry, and like the fact that he can do these really atrocious things, but there are still these moments where you're kind of rooting for him. I wonder how much of that is the Coen brothers, going back to kind of the ideas that Gwen was talking about, is like, is this them being like, you kind of cheer for him because you underestimate him or you think he's weak, but he's out here doing some fucked up shit. And like, you know, do we do the same thing with Marge? Like, are we more impressed with her because we think, oh, she's from this town of dum-dums, and well, at least she's, you know, like, are we like catching ourselves projecting some other like ideas onto these characters because they have adorable accents, you know? And like, I don't know, I think that's something that's interesting in the characterization of these two characters in particular. But yeah, I don't know, any other ideas, any other thoughts on Jerry real quick before we kind of move on? Despicable man.
Yeah.
Despicable father-in-law. It's a shit situation. It's not great, but
I would say poor Scotty, but he's a piece of shit too. Getting bad grades, swearing at the dinner table.
Yeah, fuck Scotty. That kid needs a spanking.
I just love out of nowhere. It's like, it's fucking bullshit. It caught me off guard. My 3-year-old says that.
But only when he's allowed to, sitting on the couch playing Tony
Not
Hawk.
at grandma's house.
Yeah, at grandma's house, it's freaking dog crap. That's okay.
That got me at least grounded for a week in junior high if I said that.
Oh man. Yeah, who else? Let's talk about shit, I can't remember. Steve Buscemi and
Peter Stormare.
Peter Stormare.
Is it
Thank
Stormare?
you. Yes, it is.
Stormare?
Yeah, something. I had to like
I just
look him
mumble
up
it.
and be like, who is that guy? And then I was like, oh wait, Until Dawn. That's that guy.
Every time I see his face, I just say it out loud. I'm like, psychopath.
Go play Until Dawn. So good. Oh man, yeah.
It's almost October.
It is. Yeah, we gotta talk about that. We're gonna do that. But yeah, just a delightful pair of also. I mean, in this case, downright idiots for the most part. But man, I think too. Like, I think that these characters really highlight some pretty distinct like Coen brother isms. Like, you have a character who is very verbose and like chatty and like clever, and then you just have a fucking monster of a man who will fuck things up. And in that you have it's a pretty big swath of Coen brothers characters that kind of fall into one of those two categories. But yeah,
what year did Home Alone come out? Because I'm just like thinking like 90s bad guy duos and the juxtaposition between
oh god,
Home
that's
Alone,
the Smash
bad
Brothers
guys.
that we need.
tag team in and out with your
Yeah.
duo buddy.
In this corner, the wet bandits. In the other corner, the sticky bandits. Let me look that up. Yeah, Home Alone 90 and 92 were Home Alone 1 and 2. So Coen Brothers ripping off John Hughes. Yeah, Steve Buscemi, definitely the Joe Pesci of this relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve definitely catches some strays in the writing here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
For example.
A man with a really unique look that gets
yes.
called out a couple times. And that's pretty meta in itself. We all know it, and we all love Steve Buscemi.
Oh, I love him.
He's built an entire career out of
Yeah.
playing those characters and looking the way he does, right?
Look, unpopular opinion, I would not have been against him playing Wormtongue in Harry Potter. Wormtail? Wormtongue's in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I both.
I mean, he did get that other podcast classic Con Air role that we've already covered, right?
Oh, God. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, man.
And that one, he was like the crazy psychopath. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think just, again, like, not enough can be said about the writing of this movie. Like, I think that all those conversations are so fucking great. Like, everything tells you more about the character. Like, everything is written in a way that just, like, gives you more and more. And, I don't know. I just fucking love those characters.
I do want to talk about, I don't remember his name. Is it Mike? The old schoolmate?
I think
I felt so upset during that scene. I was so taken in and taken advantage of my emotions, and I'm upset about it. I was getting mad at Justin for laughing at poor Mike.
I wasn't laughing at Mike. I was laughing at just the absurdity of the situation we were watching.
Well, I think the thing that this is one of those moments that I was talking about earlier that I was like, do I not get this sequence? Like, is there something way more to this character that I'm not getting? Because, like, it doesn't really hold any weight to the overarching plot at all. Mm-hmm. It is a really interesting scene, and Especially the reveal afterwards makes it more interesting, just as far as like a character analytic perspective. But
Yeah. Well, and I think that scene serves as a huge separator between like the criminal story and Marge's own story. Like I feel like that's there to very clearly say the details of this crime that are being committed are not the story they're the B plot in Marge's life, essentially, you know, and she has all these other things going on. She's pregnant. You know, she's going to be gone for a while. Who knows what's going to happen if a crime of this magnitude occurs 3 weeks from now? They are fucked. You could get away with anything in this town in 3 weeks. But you know, and so I think that's an interesting thing to have your main character who is very much interested in solving this case, but there's other shit going on in her life, you know, and so it's, I think it's interesting, like the things that we want, the answers that we want as viewers on like the crime side of things may be very different from what the character is thinking or looking for. And I don't think that happens a lot. I think a lot of movies like this, where you've got a mystery, like this crime that's been committed and someone's trying to solve this mystery, like eventually there's something that happens that like pulls them so deep in that they have got to figure it out. You know what I mean? And so I think that it's interesting to kind of bypass that. And I don't know.
I'm thinking one of the thoughts I had while I was watching this is like, my mind went to Silence of the Lambs, like kind of, I mean, sort of similar, kind of like the female police officer is the one, like you said, is like Silence of the Lambs is that, I think what you were just talking about, or like we kind of know what's going on and we're watching the character discover everything as it's happening and she gets sucked into it. And this, and Fargo kind of has a similar thread, I think, but it's very much like exploring different emotions. It's just completely different feeling about this whole kind of similar, like horrific, terrible thing that's happening, but just totally opposite emotions that you're experiencing as you're watching these movies.
Yeah,
and I think that's a lot of what Coen Brothers movies in general have to say, in my opinion. And that's the read I get from Fargo, is that all these things are happening in her just day-to-day type of thing. We see her with, you know, that breakfast scene, the scene with Mike. Mm-hmm. Now that you pointed that out, it makes sense. And then the final scene of her just getting back into bed with her husband, just being like, all right. And then like, oh, you won the stamp? Like the most useless competition on planet Earth. You won it? I'm so happy for you. And it's just, I love their fucking relationship because it's what we all should aspire to be. I mean, obviously Gwen looks down on these people, but
that's not what I said.
Oh my God. Listen, Gwen is well read, okay? She can't help. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
It's the easy. Here's the thing. It's the easiest joke to make. Gwen is different than us. So sorry. I'm so sorry.
Guys!
I'm going to stay out of this.
What's the husband's name? Norm?
Yeah.
He like crawls out of bed and makes her eggs and bacon, and he's so sweet. I love them too. Why am I the Hollywood snob all of a sudden?
I don't know. It's just so fun.
But yeah, I think that's a lot of what they're saying is like, and that's the messaging I take out of this film is horrible shit is going to happen. People are going to do horrible things. It's part of life and it sucks, but we should strive to be like Marge, essentially. Like that's the ideal, honestly. Yeah. Like, it's not like her life is perfect, but she's the most optimistic Coen Brothers character, I think, that I can think of. And in storytellers who are, in my opinion, kind of obsessed with punishing their characters. I know we already talked about that, but It's like, I don't know. That's the read I get from it. And for for a couple brothers who write really kind of depressing stuff, this is oddly one of the most optimistic things. And like a movie I come out of, I mean, it's bittersweet. You kind of feel both feelings of optimism, but also kind of hopelessness at the same time. And that's why the Coen Brothers are so good. Is they can make me feel both on like almost every movie I watch of theirs.
Yeah. I don't know. Any kind of closing thoughts on Fargo? Anything else that you guys want to talk about that we haven't covered?
She shot that guy while he was running away.
In the leg, like a good cop.
Oh, but she shot him while he was running away.
But they always tell you, don't shoot to hurt, you shoot to kill, right? Like you don't pull your gun unless you're gonna kill except they do that all the time. Like,
Okay, but he was just feeding a man into a wood chipper.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not a paralegal. I don't know what the right
Stick to
legal
science
answer
here.
is.
Yeah, you're a science expert.
Are cops supposed to go around by themselves? Like the state trooper was by himself. She just like, there's my car. I'm gonna hike up to this cabin
I
with
think in
possible
small
psychos.
towns, the book kind of is gathering a lot of dust, and it's in the office somewhere. They haven't read it in a while.
Gotcha.
Well, I think that's the other thing. Like, I mean, that's kind of the small town trope too. Is that like stuff like this isn't happening constantly. So it's
Fair.
like, one of you can go help a cat. Just don't shoot it. Unless it's running away and it's in the leg.
In the wood chipper, man.
Yeah.
It's like the iconic scene.
Yep.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi's leg just bouncing up and down in there. It's pretty great.
Which is a great, I mean, again, if we just want to talk about fucking use of colors, what else are you going to put on all that white but some red blood?
Yeah.
But I feel like that is like kind of like and even though that doesn't have a stereotypical way in its own right, it's like he's getting rid of the body in a wood chipper. Like this like blue collar instrument. Like
Symbol of the people. One scene that we didn't talk about, I just wanted to mention is something that I really, really liked. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when the other cop guy, I don't even know who he is, goes to talk to one of the citizens in the area about the conversation he had with Steve Buscemi's character, and his wife tells him to call it in. That conversation between the two of them in their giant parkas, and we see kind of like from like their waist up this shot of them kind of looking up at the sky talking about the weather coming. Like it's just like that is just such a perfect, I think, representation of just life. Like so much stuff that I think everybody can relate to that moment, even if we've never experienced that exact scenario. Just telling somebody about something weird you heard and then talking about the weather. Like I just really liked that scene and the way it unfolded, and just the little bit of like realism that we get out of that was really good.
Yeah. That's really great. All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and close the conversation there. Next week, we're going to continue down this Coen path that we have chosen, and we're going to watch The Big Lebowski, which we kind of talked about briefly, and I'm very excited to explore because, man, what a movie. We'll be talking about that next week or whenever. Like I said, time is relative. Suck it. But yeah, if you want to email us about anything or message us, you can reach out to us at Rewatchers on the pod.
Yes.
Rewatchers on the pod at gmail.com, or follow us on Instagram, Twitter at RewatchersPod. We're going to take a brief break and then we'll be back to talk about some other things we've been watching or playing or listening to or any of those things. See you in a minute. Oi, hey, don't you know?
that was a
worse.
Polynesian
It's
accent.
getting worse. Wait, I'm not going to try. I'm not going to try. Welcome back to the recommendation section of the podcast where we talk about some other stuff we've been watching, reading, playing, all that, but good shit. Justin, what did you have for us?
So I've just got a few things to talk about. First thing that I wanted to mention that I listened to a couple weeks ago is Lady Gaga's newest album, Dawn of Chromatica, which is a remake album of her most other recent album called Chromatica. Which
Is it a hard or a soft reboot of the Chromatica? Sorry, that's a really dumb.
Wait, so how old is the first one?
Chromatica came out last year.
And she already redid it?
Yeah, I mean it's like a year ago.
Oh, is this like one of those like DJ remixes?
Yeah, sort of,
Okay.
kind of. Yeah, it's made like there's a lot of collaboration that's been done. Like a lot of other artists are involved with remaking tracks on the album. I actually never listened to the original one that came out last year. I just was introduced to it through this one that I saw. There's like this thing. It was like Elton John announces like all these studio session things that he's been involved with, and I think this was one of the. I don't know if he's a producer on it. I don't know. Him and Lady Gaga are buds. They actually recorded a song for Chromatica last year, where they're both singing together. I can't remember the name of the title. Something about seeing a sign, but it's spelled SINE, and it's pretty cool. It's on this most recent album, Dawn of Chromatica. But anyways, it's really good. I like it a lot. I'm a pretty big Lady Gaga fan. There's not really anything of hers that I haven't ever enjoyed. I think that musically I love basically everything that she's done. So yeah, I listened to this album. It's really good. The remakes are really good. There's two versions of one of the tracks on there. I need to pull it up on my phone so I can make sure I've got all the titles called. It's Babylon, I think I can't remember the name of the track. Right now I'm really bad with remembering titles and names and stuff, but there's two versions of this song. One of them was used as like promotional or like teaser material for a company that she recently launched that is like focused on making like vegan and cruelty-free makeup products, I believe. So there's a track on there that was used during that event, and then there's another version of that track that's on there. They're both really fantastic. So I know there's been a ton of new music that's come out recently. If you get a chance to listen to this one, I definitely recommend it. Dawn of Chromatica by Lady Gaga. Another musical recommendation, if you haven't heard of Tom Cardy, I believe is his last name, not Hardy, but Cardy. I'm pretty sure that's the guy's name. He has been he's been gaining popularity on like Instagram and YouTube for doing like little musical shorts about like, one that we saw recently, he did this thing about like Tolkien pitching the Lord of the Rings to the writing executives or something, and he does this whole like musical like funk sort of like, I don't even know how to describe his music. It's fantastic and it's hilarious, and he does like,
is this an Australian guy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking
Guy
about. Yeah.
dances in like a wife beater and
Yeah.
shorts and like does all the instrumentals and the
Super
vocals and
funny.
stuff.
Yeah. He's really good.
Really great, fantastic stuff. Check him out. I'm pretty sure his name's Tom Cardy. Really good.
Fuck back to Azkaban.
Yes. Fuck back to Azkaban. Yeah, the Lord of the Rings one is great because it's all about the hobbits walking to take the ring to Mount Doom. But anyways,
He also has a song. Have you heard the one about that's just "Have you checked in your butthole"?
yes,
It's where he talks about when people lose things, and he just waits, and then he asks, "Have you checked inside your butthole?" It's very good. It's very good.
Yeah. Yep.
He's wonderful.
The other thing that I want to recommend, well, before I do that, I just want to mention I haven't really done a lot of like other stuff over the last month, really. I was talking to Gwen about this before we came over. Where like I'm just kind of in a routine right now, and I kind of feel okay about that. Like usually when that happens, I'm like, man, I'm not watching anything new. I'm not listening to anything new. That's awful. But lately I was like, it just feels good to be doing my thing and not really caring about like keeping up with everything. So that's a recommendation right there. Don't worry about stuff. Take it easy. But anyways,
Don't do whatever we're telling you to do right now.
disregard the recommendations. So I have I'm pretty sure I've recommended this before, but just as like a follow-up recommendation, I guess. I listened to Rhett and Link's podcast. It's called Ear Biscuits, and Rhett and Link, they're like one of the biggest YouTube personalities out there. So they have a podcast that they do basically every week, and the podcast that they're doing during September, I almost said the title for what they're doing. It's Sextember. Every podcast that they do this month is focused on, they're talking about sex, and the 2 podcasts that they have released so far have been like painfully relatable. And because like, if you're not familiar with their story, they grew up in a evangelical Christian home, and there was this big thing where they like told their what do they call it, like
deconstruction.
Yeah, they had like these deconstruction stories, basically like what each one of us here have gone through with our Mormon faith. They went through with their evangelical Christian faith, like leaving the faith and what that meant to them, because they were very, very hardcore into it growing up. So there's a lot of relatability with their stories, and I've kind of like, that's one of the big reasons I think I started listening to their podcast when that stuff was going on, and kind of followed it since then. But anyways, so they're talking about sex this month, and same kind of thing where it's like just hearing their stories about growing up and learning about sex and being exposed to things like exposed. Yeah, the puns are never ending during this podcast, but it's fantastic. And so I would definitely recommend it, because like, again, like, it's nice to hear celebrities. I would say, yeah, they're celebrities. They're internet celebrities. Like, hearing people who I feel like are actually relatable, talking about things that I don't get to talk about with people. Like, it's one of those things. Like, I feel like I've got a voice out there that's talking about stuff that I don't get to talk about. So yeah, I would recommend checking that out. If you haven't listened to Ear Biscuits, check it out this month if you're into sex.
You naughty pervs.
These are good podcasts to jump into. So
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's it. Other than that, Apex kind of sucks right now because their servers are garbage, but the new event released, and when you do get to play, it's fun. And that's basically what I've been playing recently. I did watch a streamer play through Deathloop, which I don't know if you guys are going to talk about at all.
I am going to talk about
Okay, I'll let you talk about it then, but I watched it. I did not play it.
Okay.
Which, that is a recommendation that I have. Watching, I used to be kind of ashamed about this. Like, I would watch people play games that I wanted to play, but recently, like, I don't have the time to do that.
There's too many fucking games.
There's too many games out there, and like, I have a streamer that I watch and support and have been watching for almost 5 years now, and so like, he plays all kinds of shit, and so like, I live vicariously through him playing the games that I don't have time to play. So that's a good time. But yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, awesome. Just to kind of piggyback off that, there's a video game I wish I had watched someone play and not actually played. But thank God I didn't actually pay. I mean, this is on Game Pass. If you guys heard of 12 Minutes.
Oh yeah, that's I watched somebody play that too.
Is it not good?
Same streamer.
Because it sounded super interesting, but I wasn't sure about it.
Here's the thing. I think if you're interested in a game like that, there's two other games I would recommend way over that one. Forgotten City, which just came out. It's that Skyrim
like that?
mod. It's this looping kind of, you're finding out more each loop, kind of that thing. I think that one's more fun, and the story is less like blindsiding in a way that you're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, okay. I played 12 minutes with Melissa, and there was a point we were about an hour and a half in, and I was just like, oh no. Oh no. There are 4 characters being talked about in this game. One of them is dead. 2 of them I know who they are, and the third one could be me. And if it is, Jesus Christ, oh my God. And I just told Melissa, I was like, this is what's going to happen. She's like, no. And 30 minutes later, that's what happened. I was like, fuck this. Fuck this. We have to finish it because I hate it so much. But I mean, the game's fine. I think it's a little rough in some ways. Story-wise, it is just like manipulative and like just fucked to be fucked is what it feels like. I don't know. I'm sure that there's someone who's like, no, it's actually really good. But that is one. Definitely watch someone play that. Find the shortest playthrough that takes you from A to B in that game and watch it. But yeah, if you're interested in playing 12 minutes, there's a game. So Forgotten City is like a time loop game that's really fun. There's another one called Overboard. That is a...
This is based on a smash hit from
yes,
the 90s.
It's based on a Kurt Russell Goldie Hawn masterpiece. No, but it's kind of a similar idea, but it's set in the 20s, and you play this, the wife of a very rich asshole, and you are also a rich asshole, and the whole point of the game is at some point in the night, you have pushed him overboard to kill him, and your goal is to either... throw suspicion onto someone else before the boat docks, or actually, I think that's mostly it. That's what it is. But basically, it kind of forces you. It's like this very much like time schedule. Like people are in certain places at certain times, so it's like playing through it multiple times. You kind of learn what you need to, and the other goal is to be so far out of suspicion that you can collect the insurance money on your husband. And it's like really quirky. It's set in the 20s. The art is really like stylized and awesome. Play that instead of 12 minutes. Okay, things I do recommend. Speaking of time loops, Deathloop. Good God. Deathloop is cool as shit. I'm not that far into it. But Deathloop feels like it took every great idea from video games in the last 20 years and was like, how do we make this work in one game? And they mostly pull it off. I think like...
Have you beaten it?
I have not beaten it, no. That's a huge disclaimer. I haven't beaten it yet. But this game feels like... It feels like Hitman, and it's got like a lot of pieces of Dark Souls. Not like I feel like when everyone talks about Dark Souls, it's about the difficulty, but this has like mechanics from Dark Souls, like the invasion mechanic is like a huge thing, which that has been some of my most fun moments in this game, is just jumping into people's games and knowing the map just better than them, that I'm like, I know exactly where you're going and I know exactly where you're going to come out because I just did this and I'm going to fuck you up. And you do it. It feels so good. But it's just a great game. I mean, the characters... I think that the way that speaking of dialogue and conversations, the way that conversations flow in this game and are just edited and performed is amazing. Like, the performances are great, and it's really fun. And it feels like an arcane game. So if you played Dishonored and liked it, you will probably... really dig what Deathloop is doing. If you played and liked it.
Are there like abilities from Dishonored that are basically like ripped right out and put into Deathloop?
Yeah. Even like some of the UI elements, like the UI for your health and your powers look kind of in the same style of Dishonored. And I think that's fucking awesome. Like, what more ballsy thing to rip off than yourself? Fucking do it. Like, if you know you nailed it, which fucking just do it. But yeah, and even like the kind of teleportation ability, that's that's a Dishonored thing. But yeah, it's really fucking fun. It's really goofy. Like, there's just some ridiculously stupid hijinks you get up into in this game. And yeah, it's awesome. I'm
really interested to see where it goes, because I'm not super far. I haven't been able to play as much as I'd like. I just barely killed like my first visionary for the first time.
Who's your first one? Or who'd you kill? Is it Wenji?
Wenji, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I find myself like, I keep thinking I'm gonna go in stealth, but then I find a turret, and I'm like, well, too bad. So there's these briefcases that transform into turrets. And I collect as many of them as I can find across the map. And then I'm like, I know the boss is there. I'm going to gather them from all over the map. And then I'm going to run and just throw them everywhere. Yeah. And like, yeah, so that's, yeah, it's a fun way. There's a lot of ways to approach it. And like, I haven't really gotten to the rewarding parts of this yet, but I assume it's going to be. The whole goal is to kill 8 targets in one day. But you only have, there's 4 different locations they can all be. And you can choose, you kind of schedule out your day of like, okay, I'm going to go here in the morning, here in the afternoon, here in the evening, and here at night. And I think I'm just at the point where I'm going to be starting to kind of puzzle piece that all together, which seems really satisfying and cool. And I think that's the main draw for me of this game, because personally, I think the shooting's fine. It's not the best shooting I've played, and I really wish it was. Like, especially after playing things like Doom Eternal and Apex, I'm like, this feels a little dated because it is essentially just Dishonored.
Yeah.
But it's not bad by any means. But yeah, there's so many cool things about the game, which that puzzle mechanic is one. I've heard some people complain about the writing, where I'm about 90% there on the writing. There's some things that bother me.
Yeah.
I don't love Juliana's voice actress.
Or
honestly, I wish they kind of went slightly different with her character a little bit too.
Yeah,
but maybe
I
that's
get
just
that.
my personal preference. But some really fun. It's just a lot of fun to be in that. And
The setting is really cool.
Yeah.
I love the aesthetic.
yeah, it's got like a 70s like James
yeah.
Bond vibe.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it is one of those things where it's like there's so many little things too that like I've found like a door that just has a microphone on it, and you can sit there and just say a lot of words into it. Like I was shocked. I said like 15 unique words into that thing before I was like, I'm gonna go kick someone. Like I don't know. It's really cool. But yeah, anyways, check it out. I'll probably talk about it more once I finish it because I think I'm gonna like it, but who knows? I've also been playing a lot of Splitgate in the last few weeks.
Really?
Just because
I've been wanting to get into this because I've been kind of craving like just a straight like forward shooter. Like,
Yeah.
just something like that's why I'm so excited for Halo Infinite to come out,
Sure.
so I can just play something that I'm familiar with.
yeah, I mean, if you want to play some Halo multiplayer, fucking play some Splitgate because it's fucking Halo multiplayer.
Yeah, with portals, right?
Yeah, with
that's
portals,
basically
exactly.
yeah. That's it.
And it's amazing to me. I was worried I was going to be real bad at this game, and sometimes I am. But this game also, like, once you get a hold of like a couple strategies, you can do really well, I think. Like, I think that it's a pretty well-balanced game, and it's free to play. It hasn't, so far in my experience, it hasn't been the gross kind of free to play. Like, I haven't felt the need to buy anything or anything like that. I probably will buy something in the next little while just because I've put so much time into it lately. But yeah, I think one of my favorite things I've seen around Splitgate was just someone tweeted out, like, Splitgate players going to the Halo Infinite beta, and it's just that clip from I Think You Should Leave Season 2, and he's like, do any of these fuckers ever pop out of a wall? It's like, because that's what that game is. Like, it's really fucking satisfying to, like, just pop up a portal behind someone and just step out and just murk them. Just fucking take them out. It's really fun. But yeah, I've been playing that with, I've actually been playing a lot with Jordan the last little bit. But yeah, if you want to jump on, let me know. I would be happy to play some Splitgate with you.
Is it cross-platform?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been playing on PC, which I think is also the fucking way to go for cross-platform games. It makes you feel real good. But
Unless you're playing Apex and the fucking controller auto aim assist bullshit.
Yeah, I get that. I also want to recommend a podcast I've been burning through very quickly called Dungeons and Daddies, which is the Rocket Jump people. I know Freddie Wong, Anthony Birch, who was the head writer on Borderlands 2. It's basically a Dungeons and Dragons podcast where they play dads from our world who are sucked into the world of Dungeons and Dragons, and their sons are lost, and they have to find them. And it is one of my favorite stories I have ever heard. Some of my favorite fucking characters.
Who's DMing it?
Anthony Birch, the Borderlands 2 writer. But Freddie Wong is in it. His character's name is Glenn Close. And they did a prequel podcast where they played the grandfathers of their characters, and they did like a Call of Cthulhu thing, like setting. And his grandpa's name was Meryl Streep. It is fucking, it is so stupid. It is one of the dumbest podcasts in the world. Like, one of the mechanics they've introduced into D&D is they have their cell phones, and so they can still call and talk to their wives occasionally. And in the case of one of the characters, Beth May is one of the people on it, and she plays a dad named Ron Stampler, who's a stepdad who is just a mess of a human being, who one time used his phone call to call Beth May, the person who is playing him, who was then role played by the DM. And it's just fucking incredible. There's a character. They got a phone call one time, and it just said "scam likely," which then introduced my favorite character in the show, Scam Likely, who is a like fucking scam wizard that is constantly stealing their money. It is seriously like one of the best things I've listened to in a long time. It is now entered my short list of Patreon things that I am subscribed to.
Is that the only way to like listen to it? Or?
No. It is free. There's a big chunk of ads at the beginning and end of that show. So once you find out how to skip through those, you're good
Is it on
to go.
Spotify?
Yes, it
All
is.
right.
Yeah. But it is great. And if you like Freddie Wong and Matt Arnold's like Video Game High Score, any of their YouTube stuff, which I went back and watched all of that. I watched like their Skyrim Badass video and that Splinter Cell video, which I think is one of my favorite things ever. But yeah, check it out. It is not for people who like the rules of Dungeons and Dragons. It is for people who fucking love just ridiculous improv. Oh my god. Yeah, there's so much I want to talk about. It's so good. And then the other thing, there's a wrestling pay-per-view 2 weeks ago, and it was fucking rad. It was like the coolest thing in the whole world. Everyone should watch it. There was a cage match.
The CM Punk Darby Allin fight?
Oh
that
my
one?
god. Yeah, it was really good. I
watched the highlights of that last night, actually.
So that match was awesome. I was like, man, fuck, that was like a really cool, not a typical Darby Allin match. And that match apparently was like a huge homage to an old Bret Hart match where they just ripped whole sections out of that match, which that match is famous for like Bret Hart, who was like at the top of the game at that time, like putting over a brand new wrestler, which is just one of those things that not a lot of people back then did. So it feels very much like CM Punk being like, the reason I'm here is to fucking help everyone else be dope as shit in any way I can, and it was really good. Also, the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers had a steel cage match for the titles, and it was one of the most brutal and ridiculous things I've ever seen.
I did see the final moment of that.
Okay,
and that was crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so good. I mean, there's a point where Matt Jackson brought back one of their very infamous bumps from the indies where he has an Air Jordan that is just covered in thumbtacks on the bottom and then super kicks Penta in the face 2 or 3 times. Like, there's this moment where like Rey Fenix is down, he has been like fucked up, and he's about to like get just his head kicked off by Matt Jackson, and Penta like runs over and gets in front of his younger brother, and it was like I was like tearing up, honestly. It was like an emotional moment, and then he just got totally destroyed. And anyways, it's great. I'll spoil the fucking end of the match. The Lucha Brothers end up winning the tag titles, which felt really good because they've like deserved it for so long. Anyways, it was awesome. Fucking wrestling is wild right now. Daniel Bryan from WWE is now in AEW. Adam Cole from WWE is now in AEW. CM Punk is there. There's like 3 other huge names that like over the next 6 months it's rumored are coming to AEW. And they're just booking really solid fucking shit right now. Go watch some wrestling. That's all I have to say. Gwen, go. I've gone for so much longer than I wanted to. I'm so sorry.
No worries. It's all good. So I actually have not been reading that much new stuff in the past few weeks, and I realized it's all the fault of the Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and not in a good way. So
for someone who knows what that means, they're stoked right now. I'm very excited.
Okay, guys, I was so excited about this book. Like one of my favorite reviewers raves about it and its sequels and talks about how amazing it is and the incredible choices that this character has to make and how it's hard and weird and the setting is cool. And the setting was cool. So the pitch is 12th century China and the mixed in with like the Opium Wars and then a little bit of World War II because you have like the Chinese nation where our main character is, and she passes this test and goes to military school, and there she finds out that she can do magic. And then so the first third of the book was really strong and really interesting, which is where she studies for the test, she gets in, and then she goes to this school. And you kind of follow her through this first year of school and struggling because she's a country bumpkin and like she doesn't have the leg up that all the other kids do. And it's really interesting and tight. And then the last 2/3 of the book, you just sort of like skip through her last 5 years of school. And all of a sudden it's like, war. We're doing war now. And it kind of, it's not, it just loses any thread of coherence. I just, like, I don't even know how to talk about how disappointed I was.
Oh,
it was so bad. Like I said, the first third was really great. So the war is with these like they're the Japanese basically, and there's genocides on both sides that have been committed, but the author just keeps like telling you how you should feel instead of like actually taking the time to develop these characters. And so like several characters die and you're like, I guess I'm supposed to feel sad right now, but I don't fucking care about like this person because I haven't seen them on like, and you're introduced to this whole new cast of characters a third of the way through the book. And yeah, it's just, it falls apart and it's bad. And like, I should have just DNF'd it. But I was like, maybe it picks up at the end. Like maybe the final climax pulls it together and it works. But no, it doesn't. And it's just like if someone, because when I don't like a book, I go and I read people shitting on it on Goodreads.
Yeah, I do the same thing with everything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't search for like reviews. I'm like, this is bad.
Yeah.
Show me those results.
No, please justify my feelings.
Exactly.
Like, and yeah, so one review described it as like YA trying to be grimdark, and I was like, yeah, it kind of feels like that. Like this book really wanted to be grimdark, and it just kind of, yeah. And like, I don't have a problem with YA in particular, but it has to be done well.
Sure.
Like I just read the Coley trilogy that's YA, and it was really great. It was amazing. But this, yeah. But like it was so bad that I had about 2 hours left in the audiobook, and I got a notification from Libby saying I had a murder bot book come available, and like my reaction was, oh, thank God, I can take a break. Like and so I listened to Murderbot, and I was like, oh fuck, now I gotta go back to the Poppy War. But then I was saved by a Joe Abercrombie book becoming available.
Man, I wish books were heroes in my life.
Okay, Murderbot is my hero. Yes. So yeah, and like I've just been so put off by that experience that I haven't been listening to anything new. I've been listening to music instead.
What a fucking weirdo.
Right? Like I'm working on Rise of Endymion, or Endymion Rise. No, it's Rise of Endymion. So when I finish that, I'll tell you about it. But the music I've been finding myself listening to instead of turning on a book is still Clark, but also Bibio, which comes on all the Spotify mixes where Clark is. Still don't know how to talk about music. Mad Hook, 7 out of 10.
There we go.
Holy shit.
But,
sounds like you know everything about
yes,
music.
I do. I told you I'm
That's a
starting a
pretty large
YouTube
following.
channel.
What's your opinion on Donda?
Mediocre.
I know. You're going to have to teach me some different words to throw out.
That's the beauty. No, we don't. You already got it.
All right, Mad Hook, 7 out of 10. But like honestly, if you put Bibio and Clark in the same playlist, I probably couldn't tell you which one was which because they're that similar. But yeah, I like it. I like it that I don't have to pay attention to what's happening with the lyrics. I can just vibe.
There aren't lyrics.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this electronica? Is
Well,
this the genre we're talking about?
there's like bullshit not saying anything lyrics.
Like
Yeah.
around the world, around the like that.
Like that.
Hey, what would you rank that song?
When I think of bullshit not meaning anything lyrics, I think of Daft Punk.
It is.
that
It's
where
like
this
that. I
all
don't
came
have
from?
to listen
And
to
Daft
it.
Punk isn't bad. I'm not saying Daft Punk is bad.
Hey,
but
listen,
that's what comes to mind.
they tell you everything you need to know. One more time, okay? One more time.
That's my definition of what Daft Punk is they're literally a Mad Hook 7. That you were the one who said that. Like that is Daft Punk. There is nothing else there. It's just they get the one thing and it's so good that
real
it goes
good
for
at it.
3, 4, 5 minutes and you're happy with that.
Yeah.
Watch your back, Fantano. We're coming.
I was
This
trying,
is now a music podcast.
I was trying to force Gwen's name. I like Gwenthony
What?
Hammertano. I don't know.
Fantano?
Yeah, Hamtano. Yeah, maybe that's it. Gwenthony Hamtano.
That's it for me.
All right.
All right. I'm sorry for what I'm about to do,
I
guys.
still sometimes think about trying to find the masculine version of your name and landing on Guan.
It's in Dark Souls.
Is that really?
Gwendolyn.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
All right.
Although that character is kind of like maybe not a good example of like
it's a
masculinity
tough one,
versus
yeah.
femininity because of all what. Anyways, sorry. Go ahead.
I just watched
Gender is bullshit.
that 3-hour video I watched of Bloodborne being described. I just beat Dark Souls 1 again, and then I watched the video of explaining Dark Souls by those same guys. There's a lot of shit I didn't know about that. Anyway, fascinating that there's such rich lore, and they're like, fuck it, we don't want to really explore it. Just start killing stuff through it. Okay, so I'm going to start with something I've talked about before, but I actually finished this time.
Anime.
I did get... I don't think I actually watched any animes.
What?
There's got to be one. I'm sure I did
Wow,
somewhere.
okay.
I know I looked for some, but I don't think I found anything. So I was suckered in to paying $30 to upgrade Ghost of Tsushima on the PS5.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I'm actually glad I did. Like, okay, real quick here. That's an anti-recommendation. Just play the fucking PS4 version if you have PS5. But
This is the director's
yeah,
cut
fucking
of a video game.
don't even get me started.
It's a good name.
Like, this was a stupid thing because it's like a big draw for me was like, I want to play in Japanese with lip syncing that matches up.
Yeah, I did. I made this purchase for the exact same reason.
Because honestly, this game is amazing as far as how much love was put into like the research and the building out this era of Japan. There's no game that does it better, and everything feels so authentic. Except that, like, I hate the English voice acting in that game, and not for the same reason I usually hate English voice acting in Japanese things. And it's so dull and poorly delivered in English.
Yeah.
And the Japanese just has so much energy, and it's not overdone like a lot of Japanese voice lines are either. It feels very the right amount, you know? And all the actors are Japanese, so I think they play both versions, which is really weird that it's such a different performance. I could be wrong on that, but I want to say that's the case. Anyway, I did finally finish it, and there's a lot more redeeming about the game than last time I talked about it. I don't think I said it was a bad game last time. It's a great game, but it is very open worldy. Like, you have to want to play an open world game because it's a lot of. This one especially forces you, like, if you want the upgrades, you have to go do the little things.
I think like around the time this game came out, hearing it described as like the highest budget PS2 game ever made, like really resonated with me, and that's not a bad thing. I love PS2 games, and I do love this game, but yeah, it's structurally, yeah.
I think, I don't want to talk about it too long. The combat is amazing, but also flawed at the same time. It's great. I really did like some elements of the story, especially in the second half. I'm a big sucker for like about like 3/4 of the way through the narrative of just like a gut punch coming and everything changing up, and then maybe like jump like some time skips and everything's different. You can't go back to the way it was, but it's not like quite the third act. You can't go back type of thing. I'm a sucker for that shit, and that does that in this game. And the ending is very like, particularly you do get a choice at the very end, which that's something I want to touch on. If you do play this game, I knew that there were two different endings, and I thought it was pretty obvious from the beginning how you achieved them. I was like, oh, you either assassinate people like a ninja, or you go in and always challenge them head on like a samurai to be the honorable path, right? I thought that's what it is. So I spent so much time trying not to be stealthy And everyone kept being like, you can't stab people in the back, Jin, you dishonorable sack of shit. I'm like, I'm not! I literally turned the corner and I thought he saw me, so I pressed square, but apparently I assassinated him. I've killed 900 more guys the right way than the 2 that I didn't.
I like the idea of like a Mr. Magoo samurai that's like, I'm trying. I just keep tripping and killing them.
But yeah, so if you do play it, don't worry about that shit. Play how you want to play because it doesn't matter. The choice is at the very, very end.
Okay.
Okay, so then that led me onto a rabbit hole. I finished that and I'm like, man, I don't want to play this again, but I want more samurai stuff. And I'm like, now's a good time to do my Kurosawa homework because I haven't seen a lot of it. So I watched a good amount. And I won't go too much into each one. The first one I watched was Ron, which was one of his latter films, which people had been talking about him kind of losing his edge by the time. And honestly, watching this film, I loved it. But I can see what people are talking about. This movie was made in the 80s, and it feels like it was made in the early 70s. But it's fucking awesome. Like, Ron, it's based off of King Lear, the Shakespeare play. And holy shit, this movie, I did not expect to like it as much as I did. This is like a pretty... It's not my favorite movie of his. I think Akira is still my favorite Kurosawa film after all this. But that movie is incredible. There's a moment where they built a whole fucking castle, like, for this movie. They built a whole fucking Japanese castle and burnt it to the ground, and they had one shot, and the fucking guy, they had to have him walk out of the burning castle, and they only could do it once. There's a whole army outside reacting to him. I can't believe they did it. Yeah, just amazing. Ron, fantastic. Great character work, great story, and just amazing visuals. Then I watched Throne of Blood, which is based on Macbeth. And once again, just amazing filmmaking. I don't know if I love the story of Macbeth, to be honest. I haven't seen or read too much of it. I know the summary, and I have seen this. This is really the only full version I've seen. And it's kind of like from the beginning, I feel like you kind of understand everything it's saying, what's going to happen. Like,
I think that's the biggest Shakespeare secret is Macbeth is just okay.
like, yeah, I don't know if that's an opinion that will get you stoned in that circle of people. But
I probably will be stoned for saying that, yes.
But I still enjoyed that movie, just because the filmmaking in it is incredible.
There's some blood in that movie, too, that's cool.
Oh, and the acting. Toshiro Mifune? Mm-hmm. Fucking incredible, dude. He's in so many Kurosawa films. He's in Seven Samurai. And he... In this movie especially, his physicality in his acting is so watchable. I could watch that man be in a silent film. Like, he's incredible. Which leads me to then the third one I watched was Yojimbo, which is fucking great. It's a Wild West movie. It's actually, which Clint Eastwood movie is based off of it?
It's
Fistful of Dollars?
Yeah, Fistful of Dollars.
So yeah, after this, Fistful of Dollars is essentially just an American remake of Yojimbo. And... fuck, it's good.
The final showdown of that movie is fucking so good.
I'm pretty confident that George Lucas based the original Obi-Wan Kenobi off of this character.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mannerisms, like how he like strokes his beard and stuff, and like there's a scene where he cuts this guy's arm off that's very reminiscent of the cantina scene. And George Lucas has said that he's taken a lot of Kurosawa films and watched them, and that was a big inspiration for a lot of things for Star Wars.
Didn't he want Toshiro Mifune? I thought he wanted Toshiro Mifune to play
I think
Ben Kenobi in
I think you might be
the original,
right.
And Toshiro Mifune was like, no, man, I do good shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember. I do remember something about that in the documentary.
I don't know. I feel like that might be anecdotal, or I don't know.
Well, I know that Alec Guinness was like, "What is this bullshit?" Like, even after he was done with it,
with a name like Alec Guinness, yeah, I'm sure you like a lot of things and think it's bullshit.
But anyway, yeah. So that was my all the ones I watched of Kurosawa, and I can't recommend those enough. Even the Macbeth one, still fantastic. Watch more Kurosawa. Which then led me to a really hard left turn, and I watched Semi-Pro, and that's an anti-recommendation. And I think, honestly, that might have been the movie that killed that era of Will Ferrell movies. Like, he was just kind of pumping out like the same type of shit for a while, and that was, I think, kind of the last straw where audiences were like, we're done And honestly, I shouldn't have even finished it. I was like, the reason I watched it is because I saw it mentioned on the NBA subreddit like 3 times that week. I'm like, maybe I need to watch this movie, and I regret it. So then I'm like, maybe I need to go back to Japanese movies. So then I watched another movie I've been wanting to watch a long time, Lady Snowblood. And good fucking Lord, Lady Snowblood is it's very flawed. It's a very flawed movie that I am in love with. It is the basis of which Quentin Tarantino used to make Kill Bill, and it is very apparent when you watch it. Some people accuse Tarantino of stealing too much from Lady Snowblood, which, in my opinion, it's definitely an homage to Lady Snowblood and some other movies and anime of that time. And man,
There's a lot of things he could have taken from Lady Snowblood, though, that I'm like, I'm kind of glad he didn't.
yeah.
Glad this didn't make it over. But
Lady Snowblood is a movie that I wish was like a 10-episode HBO thing.
Yeah.
That there's so many characters that I'm like, this needs more fleshing out here. Like, but stylistically, and even some of the characters themselves, like, it's a ride. So basically, a woman, through a lot of crazy political bullshit, her husband and child get murdered. She is then raped and then are put in prison. She has a baby, and oh no.
Yeah. This is the part that I'm like, ah.
She's like, well, part of me's like that, but also part of me's like, that's so ridiculous. That
It is.
She just has sex with anyone she can to get a baby as a tool to use as her revenge.
Yeah, because she knows that baby will be free and can basically be out.
And so it's like the people who are the other prisoners who are going to get out. She's like, make sure my child knows how to kick ass and takes vengeance for me. And like, it's really fucked up. And that's kind of the best part about it, to be honest, is like, and that's why I wish it was a longer series that you could explore that with that character more.
Yeah.
Because the main character is the child who then grows up and is this assassin.
It does feel like a real breakneck decision in the movie, because she's just like, well, I'm in prison now. Guess I gotta fuck. And it's like, oh, what? oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird and really gross, but it's also, I don't know, like, yeah, like I said, I wish we had more with that character and like explore the complexity of such a ridiculous concept. I mean, it's like a soap opera. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, it's I think too, like, tonally, it's very much an exploitation film of that time. Like, it feels it checks all those boxes. So there's like stylistically stuff that it's like kind of softens that blow a little bit, but it's
it's really fun. But I mean, so is Kill Bill. There's a lot of fucked up stuff in Kill Bill. So like, I don't know. I hate it. I mean, I don't hate it. I have a lot of problems with it, but I absolutely fucking adore this movie. And I have you watched the sequel?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Like Kill Bill 2, it's I like it less than the first one, but it's still good.
Yeah.
I think it's I'm trying to remember like the kind of main moments in the second one, but I remember enjoying it. Not as much as I like the first one though.
All right. Well, Lady Snowblood is on HBO, and so is which one? Throne of Blood and Yojimbo, but Ron is on Amazon. So let's see. And then while I had HBO going, I watched The Suicide Squad, the new one, which is definitely the better one.
If you want to know our feelings on the original Suicide Squad.
Did we talk about that? Did you guys talk about that on Game of Thrones?
We did. On the same channel that we talked about Blair Witch. We talked about the original Suicide Squad for 45 minutes.
When it was supposed to be
listen to that.
15 minutes.
Yeah. It was bad.
Yeah. Anyway, this one's what it's supposed to be. Like, I'm not gonna rave about it. Be like, it's amazing, but it's worth a watch if you just want to have a mindless good time. Like, I think it's funnier. I think.
That's not hard.
The tone is what the other one completely lacked and what it needed to be. And I mean, I don't have a high opinion of James Gunn as a director, but he's better than David Ayer or whatever the fuck his name is. It's just fun. I definitely had moments. I mean, especially there's a part at the beginning that I just like couldn't stop laughing. Like, it's stupid, but yeah, there's just this dumb character that I could not stop laughing at the visual of. God, I have so much. Sorry. Then I watched another hard right turn. I watched Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee.
Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Are you okay?
I realized I'm like, I've never seen a Spike Lee film though, and so I heard Do the Right Thing's his best, so I watched it, and I still don't know if Spike Lee is a great filmmaker.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you can really draw an opinion of Spike Lee until you've played NBA 2K16 and played through the Spike Lee joint campaign mode. But yeah, okay.
But I mean, I've seen like a lot of his other films not get great reviews. I heard Black Klansman's good. I still want to watch Black Klansman. And Do the Right Thing's not a bad movie. I'd recommend it. If not just for the political nature of it, it is dives very much into that. And it's hard to know. Maybe I'm stupid. It's really hard to know exactly what he's saying, especially with the two kind of contradictory quotes at the very end.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to know what he's trying to say, but it doesn't matter because I know what I'm taking out of the film, I guess. And I think that's the important part about that movie. And then, Do the Right Thing's on Netflix right now, so go watch it. I did also watch the Bob Ross documentary on Netflix, which is depressing, but it doesn't... I was worried. I was like, oh, great. Bob Ross is going to be ruined now. Apparently there's something I didn't know about his dark past.
But isn't there? I have heard something about his dark past that has slightly ruined Bob Ross for me.
A little bit, yeah. I'm
spoilers, I'm mostly joking here, but yeah.
He did cheat on his wife.
Oh, that's not even the thing I was thinking about. I didn't know that.
Supposedly. There's no, like...
Allegedly.
Yeah, it's complicated. And the main villain in the story, though, is not Bob. And that's mostly what it's about. Yeah. And it's just kind of sad because from what everyone says, all the people who knew him in the documentary at least say that, that was him. That was 100% genuine. That was who he was. Like, he was just the most positive, like, mythical god just amongst men. Like, but yeah, he kind of had like since he was a poor struggling artist, kind of had like a kind of shitty family situation. So yeah, I recommend that, especially if you like Bob Ross or into like weird shit like documentaries. Go for it.
They make movies about ugly people. That's what I was thinking of that Community line. Documentaries, like normal movies with ugly people.
Another documentary I watched on Netflix, which is an anti-recommendation, is Count Me In, which is a drumming documentary. It is the worst structured documentary I've ever seen in my life. It is the most vomit of ideas, no cohesion whatsoever. There's some interesting bits. There's a lot of famous drummers in there. There's some drummers in there that I'm like, I'm not so sure you belong with the rest of these people. Taylor Hawkins of the Foo Fighters being one of them. And they gave him a lot of screen time, and I've got some opinions on the Foo Fighters I'm not going to go into.
He's like one of those times when I think it's an anecdotal quote from John Lennon when they're talking about Ringo Starr, and like, he's not even the best drummer in the band. Like, when I think of Taylor Hawkins, I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's not. He's definitely not.
Yeah. It's just, it's fun to hear some of these people talk about some of the stories, but I'm not exaggerating. Literally, I don't know what this documentary is about. Like, I can't tell you what the main theme of the documentary is. It's just this vomit of drumming, and then they get together a group of some of the drummers at the end and do like a round. It's kind of like It Might Get Loud. It Might Get Loud, yeah. Except worse than It Might Get Loud, I think. But yeah, like Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I don't know her name. The drummer for Santana is there. But yeah, anyway, if you're really, really into drumming, watch it. If not, I don't think it's worth anyone's time. Another Netflix thing I watched, the animation, The Witcher series. They did like an animated movie of The Witcher thing, which I was going in with the lowest of expectations, which is kind of a theme for me with anything related to The Witcher at this point. And I guess because of that, I was like kind of came away more positive about it. I was surprised that they were able to tell something that kind of felt like a Witcher side quest from the game. But it's not amazing or anything. So unless you're like really into that lore, except I've heard that it does kind of break some of the lore. So that's a lot of people are upset about. So yeah, unless you're like really into that universe, I probably wouldn't. It's not fantastic or anything, but it was fun. Let's see. Deathloop we already talked about. I started watching Why the Last Man on Hulu, and my recommendation is please read the comic first. I mean, I think the show definitely could be worse so far. I've only seen like 2 episodes, but the comic book is so much better. Please read that first. I finally took one of Tyler's recommendations. I watched Joe Pera Talks with You, and it's on HBO. So please go watch Joe Pera Talks with You.
Did you finish it?
No, I've only seen 2 episodes.
Oh, what? Okay. Oh, man.
And
God,
I watched. I think it's probably the most famous episode, the church announcements episode.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's a great episode.
They're short, so go watch them. It's weird because this is such a stupid Adult Swim thing, but if you want to, you can really like dig in to this wholesome character that most things like this you're supposed to laugh and make fun of the guy. Where during this you're like, wow, you connect with this character so much, even though they're very awkward.
Yeah.
And God, that Baba O'Reilly thing is just so.
It's like the purest. It's like, I don't know if anything has like presented a relationship to like music in that way, like in a movie or a TV show as like accurately, and is just like distilled to its like purest moments. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. So Joe Pera Talks with You, that's on Adult Swim section of HBO. And last thing I'm going to talk about, Thrice released a new album this week, and Thrice is they have 2 albums which are my top 2 albums of all time. I love this band, but they have not been without misstep. But they went on a hiatus for a bit, and they came back, and the 2 albums they released after the hiatus are okay. They're not great, but they're not on the level of those other albums that they've had. This band is amazingly creative. They started out as a screamo emo band and then transitioned into this like not quite prog band, but really concept band with a lot of experimentation. Then they kind of settled into this rock groove for a while. Then they took a hiatus, and then the 2 albums after that, I probably listened to a total of like 7 songs off of. They just released a 3rd album from the hiatus called Horizons East, and I am very happy to say that this album is extremely weird and very different, and I love it. Like, it's not quite to the same level as like my 2 favorites. This is an album that only people who have been making music a long time could make. They did it during quarantine, and it was a really different process for them because they had built their own recording studio like the year before COVID, I think. And so a lot of it is done remotely and kind of them doing that themselves. It's super experimental. They've always had like a jazz influence in their music, but they have a song on here that's just a straight jazz song. Like, it's full on jazz, and it kind of comes out of nowhere. The production on this thing is incredible. There's so many layers. My only gripe about it is, and another critique I've had about the 2 albums since the hiatus is this man who was such a great lyricist before, kind of put out the shittiest lyrics he's ever written in the past 2 albums. This is a return to form for sure. There's a song on here called Dandelion Wine. It's the second to last track. Holy shit. Like, lyrically, it's incredible, and then the song itself is incredible. It does what Thrice does best, where the lyrics and the thematic elements are controlling the song to the tone of the musical instruments match what is in the themes and the story. God, I've been thinking about this album all week. I can't stop thinking about it. And it's one of those ones that's like, you don't have to be a Thrice fan to just check it out. I think that people can appreciate it. The production on it is just so good. It's called Thrice Horizons East. And the best part is it's another concept album where they're already halfway through the next one. They're doing a Horizons West album that comes out next year. So yeah, I'm just really stoked on this album. Yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. I definitely want to check that out. I didn't even realize they had a new album out. So yeah,
There's
awesome.
so much new music that's dropped in like the last month. I've got so much stuff I've got to get to.
I can't stop listening to Donda. I've been waiting for Donda. I feel like Donda's the album I've been waiting for.
But how much have you listened to Certified Lover Boy? That's the real question.
Oh my god! I saw the album artwork for Certified Lover Boy. I was like, "What the fuck are we doing anymore?" Okay, I'm not a Drake guy. I didn't watch Degrassi.
So here's the thing: I can get Kanye fans, even though I personally am not a Kanye fan. I get them. I think they're weird, but I get it.
Yeah.
I don't get Drake. I don't get Drake at all.
I don't either.
Fucking.
People have sent me Drake songs to listen to because this you're gonna love this song. Right? Listen to it. I'm like, this is. I don't get. What? I don't know. I'm an idiot. I listen to the same music I listened to in high school, okay? I'm not qualified. But fuck off, Drake.
Wasn't Drake in high school with us too?
No, Drake dates high schoolers. That's what you're thinking of.
I feel like when did he first start? I feel like we could be saying that oh man. Kanye put stuff out forever ago. He's still doing shit.
He's still doing shit. so much. Yeah, Donda. All right. Well, we're going to watch The Big Lebowski next week. The Donda of Coen Brothers movies. You're going to love this one.
They don't even consider that his best album.
No, I think for all accounts, I think that I've listened to 2 songs off Donda, and I'm like not a huge Kanye fan, but like I'll listen to the album just because I'm like interested, and sometimes I find things that I like. I listen to like 2 songs, I'm like, oh man, I'm bored. this is dumb. But yeah, Big Lebowski, surprisingly not dumb, even though it is the Donda of Coen Brothers movies. So we'll see you next week. You've been here with me, Tyler Harris, and
Bookhammer.
Tyler McKinley.
Justin Hammer.
What did you say?
Said what I said.
All right.
See you next week in our time, whatever the fuck that means.